Hey, what's up, bots? It's the Bots Gamer 13 here, and today we have a lovely video, a video I've been working on for quite some time. I've taken a little extensive amount of time to get this video out due to some research and just me procrastinating and being lazy. And here we are. We are going to discuss Roy Mustang, our boy from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, pre seeing the truth. So he is not blind, but he does have the ability to use alchemy, and he has, you know, his general weapons. He probably has a firearm on him, and he has the gloves. Versus end of series Zuko, not old man Zuko with his dragon, but young end of series Zuko, but I would say after he fights his sister, and he has the ability to redirect lightning. Now here's the thing. The reason why most people struggle with this fight, or it is quite hard to get a definitive answer, is because both characters are interesting in their usage of using the fire. For example, our friend Zuko, the way he uses his fire is in a form of martial arts. Every time he throws a punch, it is in the sense like if you've seen training match of like a UFC fighter, instead of throwing punches and like a boxer, instead of throwing jabs and hooks and stuff, when Zuko throws a hook, fire comes out of his fist. Or when he throws a flying kick or something, fire comes out of his feet. And the thing with our boy Roy Mustang here is he only pretty much just shoots the fire between the tips of his fingers. Our boy Zuko, like I said before, is a master firebender. Pretty much he's very skilled in firebending, and he is a well-trained swordsman. Something that I forgot about while I was watching this series. But he is a war general, so he has pretty high intelligence, I would say. But let's just quickly move on to Roy Mustang. He is also a war general. You know what I'm saying? He's had his fair share of fights here and there. The thing about Roy Mustang, I'm going to put this out very quickly, is depending on the environment, he will lose immediately. So, for example, specifically, for example, if it is raining, Roy will lose on sight. Like there is no debate about this at all. Even if he has the ability to use alchemy, he cannot. There's no way he could win, due to the fact that our boy Zuko here, in his younger years, he's more agile, and you know what I'm saying, he's very strong. The fact that he is a firebender creates a problem already, because for one, he knows how to manipulate fire in very meticulous ways. So if you were to say it was raining at the time, the thing is, our boy Mustang, he doesn't have the thing about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. The thing about Fullmetal Alchemist is there's not a lot of feats. There's not a lot of speed feats, or it's not heavily explained, at least in the anime in which I'm perceiving it. But there are some examples, but I don't want to take any stretches, because if I really was to, you know, try to highball Mustang, you could say that he is at least supersonic speed, due to his fight with Lust and his ability to react and to, you know what I'm saying, counter her. So from there alone, you could just say, alright, he pretty much just runs in, blitzes him with the fire, bing bang bow, easy, right? It's a little bit more difficult, so I'm going to explain why this is this difficult. For one, the reason I decided to make this video is because I thought it was interesting that these two people use fire in two different ways. Like I said before, Zuko is a martial artist, while Roy isn't. He kind of just manipulates fire, while Zuko uses the fire in meticulous ways. So with Roy, he plans out things, you know what I'm saying? He has strategies. Zuko kind of just fights, and the fire is an accessory to the fight. So the thing about the last Airbender is the way they use their fire, or firebenders are, scaled, is fairly simple. You could pretty much just break it down to their ability slash skills, how much fire they can dish out, and what type of abilities they possess. So if you're Aang, you're a firebender, like earthbender, this, that, and windbender, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? You can do a whole bunch of things. But since he's directly a firebender, his attacks are very restricted in the fact that the extent of his fire does not exceed his stamina. So the moment he gets tired, so if he's out here just blowing fire out, you know what I'm saying, running around doing the dash, the moment he gets tired, his fire starts to weaken. It doesn't weaken in strength or like temperature, he just can't use fire any longer. The thing with Mustang is, he on the other hand does not have this disability, but the only problem is his fire, technically, if you think about it, can be canceled out by Zuko's, because though he can't manipulate somebody else's fire, if they were to pretty much have like let's say if, for example, Dragon Ball, if Goku and Vegeta were to use their special attacks, if Goku were to use Kamehameha, right, and Vegeta were to use his Gallic Gun, they would cancel out. They'd pretty much just stop and just like collide into each other, and that would be the same thing for the fire, and neither of them would be able to outdo the other. Blowtorch type of fire, and Zuko did the same thing. Nobody's fire would overcome the others, because there's no examples to say that Zuko's fire has a certain temperature. He's never, that I remember, he's never melted anything besides like wood, and it wasn't really melting, it was kind of just like burning through. And the thing with Roy is his fire has reached temperatures to turn people pretty much into ash, but at the same time, you couldn't say that he would know to rise his temperature to go against Zuko's fire, because once fire collides with fire, one fire doesn't overcome the others. It would probably fuel each other, just making the fire greater. Now the thing is, like I said before, Roy doesn't require any energy. He can literally use the oxygen in the air and just blow fire all day, all night. His stamina is completely dependent on his environment. So if it was to rain, he couldn't use that fire due to the fact that his gloves would get wet, and there'd be science behind it to say that his fire, he wouldn't be able to exert fire at that time. But our boy Zuko would, because his fire is, it's solely dependent on his energy and his stamina. So the problem here comes in is with, can Zuko manipulate our boy Roy's fire? And that is no. But the reason why I personally believe that Roy would win is because the fact that Roy, he also has alchemy. By the end of the series, if you haven't watched Fullmetal Alchemist, which is quite unfortunate, you should definitely go watch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. There is an ability called alchemy, where you are able to pretty much manipulate the environment around you, sort of like the way an earthbender can turn the earth into, weapons or projectiles of the sort. So with Roy being able to use alchemy in this fight, it does put our boy Zuko at a slight disadvantage. Nothing too drastic, but definitely giving him an edge. Unless Roy is making a mountain type like wall and trying to drop it on our boy Zuko, there's not much he can do. And our boy Roy hasn't ever demonstrated that ability to do such alchemy to that extent. It can be implied, because he has shown the ability to use alchemy, but I'm not going to completely give him the benefit of the doubt to say that he can just make a giant like house size like boulder and try to drop it on our boy Zuko here. Roy would take the fight by tactics alone. That there'd be, I'm pretty sure Roy could come up with a certain type of tactic using his alchemy and his fire ability to corner Zuko and pretty much inevitably burn him to death. One ability that he does have is, I'm just gonna call it on sight, just because what he does pretty much is the moment he sees you, as long as he has you in eye contact, he can like pretty much snap his fingers and it will send a spark which will like pretty much travel towards the opponent or the enemy or the person in question and combust into giant flames, pretty much burning them alive. Now, firebenders do have a little, I would say a small immunity to fire, because when two firebenders are pretty much training, when the fire comes in contact with them, they can kind of brush it off. Unless crazy enormous amount of fire, like when Zuko was fighting his sister per se, then that's not the case. It'll be, so if Roy was to just throw a hand size, like if you made a fist, if you threw a fireball at the size of your fist or his own fist, Zuko could brush that aside. He couldn't manipulate the fire and throw it back at him, but if it was thrown at him, he could possibly pretty much tank it. But if he was to if our boy Roy was to throw a fireball the size of a house or like a large scale boulder, then our boy Zuko here would not be able to deflect it as easily. He could probably push it to the side or move it out of the way, but the thing is, this is where the alchemy would come into play. Our boy here, Roy, has, here's the thing, I don't want to say that Roy can make like a sword or something, because even if he could, our boy Zuko here's swordplay is drastically disgusting. But I would go as far to say that Roy could probably make some very small projectiles, nothing to the scale of like a massive boulder, or like by what he's showcased, he can probably make a projectile the same as Armstrong does, not to the cleanness and the definition of those rocks that he does make, those sculptures pretty much, but I'm pretty sure he could make something like a small like the way the earthbenders do. They would make like a small clump of rock and then toss it at their opponent. I'm pretty sure Roy could do the same, probably ignite the rock and toss it at him and possibly corner him somehow whilst he tries to defend himself against both the alchemy and the fire. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or want to debate me on this or have a nice I prefer the term discussion, because I don't know the rules too heavy of debating, like the laws of debating and stuff like that. But a discussion is definitely obliged. If you want to have that discussion, go ahead and hit that comment section up and just let me know. I'm down to discuss this fight, because it is debatable. It's definitely debatable that you could come up with very strong arguments that our boy Zuko could defeat Roy. But in this case, I feel with the particular environment, if it wasn't terrain, then Roy would definitely take it due to his alchemy and his fire ability over our boy Zuko. So yeah, that's all I have to say on this one. I will have another fight coming up pretty soon. I'm doing NL from One Piece versus Raiden from the Mortal Kombat series. That's definitely going to be something quite interesting to watch out for. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And I hope to see you bots in the next video. Look out, bots.